Great. Can you hear me okay? Good deal. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about owning your employees for better security. This is going to entail social engineering, phishing, essentially building your own program, and I'll walk you through what we went through, and we'll go from there. So my name is Jake Schroeder. I go by jakestaby online, and I have been working at HireVue for about the last 3 years as a infrastructure security manager. So a quick disclaimer, this talk is going to read a bit like a how to attack HireVue. It's not that. It's been said that a company's greatest weakness or greatest vulnerability are the people. As long as we all employ people, we're all vulnerable. So, you can take these lessons and apply them to your own companies when you get back home. So, quick 101, very brief, what is social engineering? It is the psychological manipulation of people into performing actions or divulging confidential information. This could be malicious, could be nothing. Anybody who has kids know that it's not always malicious. Sometimes kids just want to get what they want, and they are the best social engineers in the world. So a couple types of social engineering. Phishing, which is sending emails. Vishing, which is trying to get information over the phone. And then baiting, which is dropping USB drives, something else, where others will pick them up and use them. And there are many others. So why do we need to worry about this? We need to worry about it because it works. There may be one guy who notices it's a scam. Somebody else, obviously a scam. We all know that somebody who says, oh, whatever you ask, I'll do it. Just, show me where to sign. But really, we have approximately 1.2 billion reasons to worry. This is an article that Brian Krebs just put out. $750 million alone was lost by 7,000 companies in the US, in only the US, between October 2013 and August 2015. So that's less than 2 years and $750 million lost to email scams alone. So now I'm going to show you a quick vishing example. This is a real example that we used this is one of the first calls we placed when we started rolling out our initial social engineering test. So.
Hi, it's Alan over in IT. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. Hey, the reason I'm calling today, we've had some issues with our backups running on Gmail. It looks like your account is one of them that's been affected. I just need to log into the admin interface as you and get that figured out. Do you know what your Gmail password is?
No, they never told me. It's automatic on my computer.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Is it in the password repo? In LastPass?
I don't actually. Let me check that. So basically, like when I got my computer, I just went to mail.hireview.com.
Okay.
But I can check my LastPass, so I think it works.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, if that works, I can just log in to LastPass as you as well and get that fixed. So that should work just fine as well.
Yeah. I need to grab my password for LastPass.
Okay.
Yeah, so am I just not getting emails or something?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am ready for that password whenever you are.
Yeah, just logging into LastPass.
Okay. Yeah, if you can actually give me the LastPass password, that works too. I can just take care of it with that.
Yeah, let me make sure it works.
Okay.
I just tried it and it didn't.
Sure.
Oh, okay, yeah, it works.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird, but so it's
Okay, let me try that. Okay, so it's asking for that second factor. Can you Do you have it on like your phone, Google Authenticator or something that you can pull up that token and
Oh,
give me?
yeah, I can pull that up right now.
Okay,
One second.
perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just pulling it up right now.
Thanks.
So I have 934340.
34340.
Okay, it just went invalid actually. So
Okay,
let's
I
go.
actually, I
Try
am
this
in,
one.
so we are good.
That
I was
works?
able to get
Okay.
in. Yep.
All right.
Cool, that's all I
Yeah,
needed.
anything else?
Nope, that should be
Perfect.
it. I'll fix it. If you don't hear from me, then there's nothing to worry about.
Obviously, something to worry about. So, put yourself in the shoes of that person. They're trying to be helpful. This particular person works in our support department, so they're used to getting calls every day with somebody asking for help. So their natural inclination is to help somebody. So that's one example. We also sent out an email as part of a phishing campaign. We'll come back to that in just a bit. So our approach, we have two main approaches when we're doing this. We have an insider threat, and then we have an outsider threat. Each has its own merits, and both should be used to be able to gauge where you fit. Insider threats don't necessarily have to be malicious. They can be people who, are overly helpful. They can be people who click the wrong thing. For this talk, we're going to focus on the outsider threat, which everybody knows is this guy. I know when I'm getting ready to hack, I wear my ski goggles, my gas mask, and my hoodie. And those who are most elite type on their laptops with one hand while it's powered off. So the three steps we're going to focus on are recon. That's going to include passive recon and active recon. We're going to prepare our attack, and then we're going to attack. So first is recon. The goal of our recon is to build the best pretext possible. Pretext is something or an act that you're putting on that's put forward to conceal a true purpose or objective. We want to try and get as much information as we can to make ourselves believable so that people will give us what we ask them to. We want to make sure that we can get buzzwords, lingo, acronyms, anything like that that is going to build our credibility inside of the organization. We're acting as outsiders, so it's difficult to do, but you really want to try and throw away everything that you know about the organization before you say something, before you send an email. Make sure that it's something that you've found, whether it's through passive recon or active recon. Next time you do this test, start over. So for recon, we'll go through a few things. You want to look at their company website, job listings, LinkedIn, social media, throw some Google dorks at it. And then there are a few tools which will make our lives easier. You want to take lots of notes and screenshots. On OS X, there are a few commands that you can use to keep all this stuff contained to make it easily searchable. You can change the screenshot names so you can search by that. If you upload it to Google Drive or Evernote, it'll even do OCR for you, so you can search inside the screenshots you've taken. Some people have a problem with uploading stuff to Google. They're the big evil overlord. They have it all anyway. So things to look for on the company site. List of executives. Your executives carry the power in the organization. If an executive calls somebody, they're going to default to doing whatever they say. They're going to give whatever they ask for. You want to look at job listings to try and figure out which technology they're using inside the organization. And again, search for acronyms, buzzwords, lingo, things like that. If you can find a public-facing employee directory or even a list of employees, especially if you find somebody that you want to pretext, then it's basically game over at that point. So for our attack, we started at our company website. Right in the middle of our page is a HireVue demo. It's a great idea to request that with a personal address so you can get a template that you can use later for your phishing attacks. It'll be very useful later. So on our site, it has a list of our attractive executives here, along with bios for each of them. So when we call, we can speak with authority as if we're these people. You don't have to worry about changing your voice. In all of our calls, not once did somebody say, "You sound kind of funny." I used my voice. The guy I worked with used his voice. We called as multiple people, and nobody called us on at once. Nobody wants to anger the executives, right? When they say jump, you ask how high on the way up. So our job listings. This, like I said, will give you the technologies in use. It'll tell you if the position interacts with customers. For example, if it's a support position, it'll say this position takes incoming calls from customers all day. And then it will also give you information about the culture. A lot of tech companies have started trying to sell the positions, right? They want to attract top talent, so they sell their positions through their job listings. So we started looking through our job listings, and we found this link at the very bottom that says, check out our blog. So we obliged. We go to the blog, and this is the exact kind of thing we were looking for. This is the jackpot. It's a blog about the company, inside the company, what it's like to be a HireVue employee. You can use this if they're talking about projects that are going on, if they're talking about the buildings moving, if they're talking about big trade shows that the team is going to. While you're here, you want to see if there are write-ups about different employees. So we've essentially hit the jackpot here. How many sysadmins, network admins do we have in here? We have a lot. So you guys know, usually sysadmins, network admins don't get a lot of recognition, right? They're the guys behind the scenes making it all happen. This is one time when that works in our favor. You don't want to be recognized publicly for a guy like me who's looking for this kind of information. So as I keep scrolling through the page, I come across this guy, which that's me. There's a little bit of slanderous stuff going on here. That's my second favorite pastime, not my favorite pastime. But it brings up an interesting question. Is it cheating to use yourself as the pretext? I'll leave that question to you guys to decide. So on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you want to look for the same kind of information. Employee profiles, job listings, posts by employees about the company. Again, is there a big trade show coming up that they're advertising? A lot of companies have LinkedIn pages, so it's a great spot to find information. So while we were on the blog, we find this hashtag, ViewNation. So naturally, let's go to Twitter, see what we can find there. So even typing in, didn't even hit enter, typing in the hashtag gives me a ton of information. I see that there's a ViewNation account. I see that there are several profiles of people who have used this hashtag quite a bit. So we'll look at the top hit. We see ViewNation here. That gives us a little bit more information. We see that the main Twitter account is at HireVue. Pretty obvious in most cases. It also, we click on that, we go look at the main page. Going back to the first one, we see the careers page, if we didn't find that already. Now we know who runs the Twitter page. These accounts are a great source of information because if they're running social media pages as their job, chances are they're very active on social media on their own accounts or on other accounts they may run. So when you're looking at the hashtag, look for the same kind of things. If they're tweeting about a company party, whatever the case may be, cross-check those users that you find with Instagram. They may be uploading pictures of your ID badge for your office. See how easy it is to counterfeit your ID badge. Give it to a friend. See how far he can get in your building. After all the paperwork's been signed, obviously. See how far he can get in, and how it'll give you an indication of what you need to work on. And then Google hacking. This was initially created by Johnny Long of Hackers for Charity. Now it's integrated into the Exploit DB. Lots of updates here. You can search for content that was uploaded accidentally. You can search for services that have been exposed that shouldn't be. And this is constantly updated, so a lot of good information there too. So the first tool we'll look at is called the Harvester. It's an automated tool used to search a bunch of different sources at once. So we'll just look at the flags first. You can see this TAC-D flag that feeds it the domain to search for. And then TAC-B will give it all of the data sources: Google, Bing, Jigsaw, Twitter. We'll use all for this search. It'll also do a lot of DNS validation. So you'll get a lot of false positives, as we'll see. This will help to clean up some of those. You can also do brute force DNS. So you can try and find all of the subdomains that maybe aren't indexed or shouldn't be indexed. You can limit the number of searches if you'd like, and you can also use Shodan to try and figure out more services that are running. So we're also going to feed it the TAC-F flag to export it into an HTML, which is not the prettiest thing, but it's nice to come back to look at after the fact. So it's searching Google, PGP, Bing. It'll search Exalead. And this is just searching for people, essentially. People, DNS records, virtual hosts. And now it's just going to start spitting out names, email addresses. As it scrolls through, you'll see a lot of stuff that has no relevance to HireVue. This is stuff, I believe it's using the Bing reverse IP search. If you put IP : and then your IP address into Bing, it'll reply with all of the domains that have used that IP address in the past that still may be using that. So some of those DNS flags will help us here. So this will be good if you want to target your attack more from, say, a customer perspective. So right now we'll just search for Twitter to see what we can find on there. And this is going to kick back a lot of names that are tweeting about HireVue, have tweeted at HireVue, have retweeted HireVue. So, we're just expanding our scope here so we can find more people, more pretexts, and more information. And then the last search we'll run is a LinkedIn search. And this is just going to search LinkedIn and give us a list of names. So as focusing on an outside attacker, this has given us a huge scope that we can use, that we can try and get more information about and use as our pretext. So this is the output of that HTML page. Like I said, it's not pretty, but when you're spitting out 791 hosts, 747 virtual hosts, it's nice to have something that you can go back at and look at later. So the next tool we'll look at is called ReconNG. This is a lot like Metasploit. Those of you who are familiar with Metasploit will be very comfortable in ReconNG. I'm not going to do a demo of it today. It requires a lot of API keys. Some of them are paid, some of them are not. But it's a great tool. You can get more information at bitbucket.org/landmaster55/ReconNG. So the next tool we'll look at is a little bit different than the other ones. This is called URL Crazy. And what this is going to do is make substitutions, do bit shifting, do homonyms, trying to find different domains that you could use as phishing domains, or maybe different domains that other people have already used to set up phishing domains. So we will run it just at hirevue.com with no flags, and it's going to spit out a bunch of domain names that are similar to HireVue, along with the IP addresses of those that are legitimate, that have been registered and are pointing somewhere. It'll also pull where it's been registered. Next, we'll run it with the -R flag, which is not going to do any DNS requests. It's just going to spit out the name of domains. Now, this would be useful if you're not going to register these domains, if you're not going to register all of these domains. Take these domains and feed them into your spam blacklist. So then somebody else registers them. Your users aren't going to see these emails. No chance they'll get tricked by it. So the next tool is very similar. It's called DNS Twist. We'll run through the options here too. This one can do an MX check to see if the host can be used to intercept emails. We'll do the same thing. It can also do GeoIP. It can connect to the services, pull the banners so you can try and enumerate what services are listening on these domains. Like I said, essentially this will do the same thing. This one will resolve any name records, name server records, or MX records that you've already created, and they both spit out different lists of domains. So I would encourage you to run both of them, and then, like I said, if you're not going to register them, feed them into your spam blacklist so that nobody else can use them against you. So in addition to these domains, try and get specific. If it's around open enrollment time, maybe register company name portal, company bonus, if it's around Christmas time. If you're moving offices, set up a portal that accepts any credentials, send an email that says, we're allowing employees to choose where they want to sit in the new office. Employees will eat that up. Just have the login page, log everything, then send them to a dummy page that says an error has occurred, try again later. They'll try again later. They'll try different passwords. They'll try later. End of quarter is trickier. Sales guys are going to be focused on closing business. As an attacker, you want to try and get people when they're most vulnerable, right? You want to try and figure out how they'll react when they're under high stress. So that one's trickier. Leave it to your organizations, your HR departments to figure out if that works for you guys. And then we'll focus on active recon. So you notice I have harmless in quotes. They're not harmless. You're probing for more information, but you're not launching your attack now. So, for example, this is the chief operating officer. I'm trying to get a hold of IT. Can you give me so-and-so's phone number? They'll give it. Unless you've put policies in place beforehand, specific policies for any customer-facing or public-facing positions, they're going to give the information. Sometimes, even when you have the policies in place. I keep getting disconnected from IT. Can you give me their direct number? No information given, just give me their number. Or, this is James in sales, I lost my password, can you reset it? This works great on IT people. Play dumb. Let them tell you what password you're needing. They'll try and get more information, just, I don't know. It's giving me an error. I can't get on the internet. Stuff like that. IT people love stuff like that, right? And then we'll prepare our attack. So now we have the name, title, phone number of a person in IT. We have the name, title, phone number of one or more executives. We may know if they use single sign-on, password manager, or something else, maybe nothing. We'll have a good feel for the company's lingo and their culture, acronyms. We'll have a pretty good insider view of the company. And then we're going to prepare to attack. So we're going to get all our pretext ready to use on the phone with that information. If we're gathering credentials, we're going to want to clone our login page or clone a page that we're trying to gather credentials for. And then if you have permission, you can always try and compromise machines. This is a tricky one. It's not fun cleaning up after yourself when you're done. So, but I'll leave that to you whether you see the benefit of that or not. Cost is a big factor for a lot of shops. So we wanted to do our first sweep as cheap as we could. So let's get some creds for under 25 bucks. How many people here default to trust caller ID? If I get a call on my phone that says it's my mom, I answer, "Hi, Mom." It's just, I take for granted that this can be spoofed. This is a service that we used, no affiliation with these guys, called Spoof Card. You put in the destination number you want to call, and then the phone number of the caller ID that you want to display on their phone. Works amazingly. They'll give you an 800 number, you call it, you put in a PIN number. I believe the social engineering capture the flag guys at DEF CON use the same service. That's an hour of call time for 10 bucks. And then we need a domain, a certificate, and something to send the email. Domains, cheap, 9 bucks, 10 bucks, 12 bucks, as long as it's not a 3-word or 3-letter, pretty cheap. Certificates, 5 bucks. You can get these for free for trials. There are a lot of services that are doing, Let's Encrypt, that are going to start offering certificates. So this is cheap. It's optional, but if you're going to gather credentials, you need this. You don't want your credentials flowing unencrypted over the wire. And then we used Google Apps. They have a 30-day trial for a domain. I don't believe they require a credit card up front, and they have great walkthroughs to set up all your MX records. You can also, as a speaker yesterday pointed out, you can do all of this through AWS. You can use Route 53 to register your domain. You can use SES to send emails. It'll set up all of the DNS for you. So then we need some free hosting to host our cloned website. AWS is perfect for this, and there's a T2 micro instance that is free for a year. And that's plenty to run our website and gather credentials. So the total cost, spoofing, we're in for $9.95, domain name $8.99, certificate $4.99, all in $23.93. I don't know of any shops that can't afford $24 for a test like this. So then we're going to use Social Engineering Toolkit to clone our site. This is a tool that's incredible. It's an amazing tool written by Dave Kennedy. If you have a chance to hear him speak, he's a great speaker and really one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet. So we will just run this tool, and it's all menu driven, so it's very easy to get through. We're going to run a social engineering attack, and then we're going to do a website attack vector, and we're going to grab credentials, so number 3, the credential harvester, and then we're going to clone our site. So for this demo, I just used localhost, made it easy. But you put in the IP address, the public IP address, if it's in Amazon, of where it's listening. And then you need the URL. So I put in our main application and get any redirects. The tool is pretty good about redirecting, but it's easier to just go to the website, let it redirect, then copy the URL, feed that to the Social Engineering Toolkit, and it'll say, okay, we've copied all your files into var/www/html. So for this demo, I set up a host record, but you'll want to update your DNS to point to the new site. And you see we have a pretty good representation of our login site. We have some errors that we need to clean up maybe. Usually it's really good. So we'll go to that path, and we'll look at the 2 files. It has index.html and a post.php. Index.html is going to host, it's going to show your web, the site that you put up. This post.php is what does the work. Anything that is posted, it's going to append to this harvester file. So that's where all your credentials are going to be. So now, how do we get people to our site? Well, we're going to run the attack. Coming back to this email, like I said, I signed up for a demo and was given a very good template, a marketing email. Employees are going to recognize it. And then we tailored it a little bit. We registered hireviewbeta.com, and we welcomed people to the HireView beta. We used internal buzzwords like awesome sauce, right, to build credibility. We added an incentive to click, and we wanted them to do it as soon as possible. Limited number of gift cards, we'll give them to a lucky few. Hurry, give us some feedback. And the second half of the email, we wanted to cut down on groundhog syndrome. I don't know if this is a real term. This is what I use. That's when people are sitting there, they get an email, pop their head up. Did you get this? Did you get this? Spreads like wildfire through a company. This is good when you have a real attack. You want people to do this. This is a way, since it was our first test, we really wanted to get a good picture of how many people independently would get the email and then take action. So we said keep it confidential. Only a few members of, again, View Nation, Build Credibility, have been invited. And then, if you can't log in, don't worry about it. Try again later. It's consistently being updated. If it doesn't work or you are redirected to the default HireView application, Social Engineering Toolkit, when it gets the credentials, it just redirects you back to the real site. So people try and sign in again. If they're not paying attention to the bar, they won't know that anything's different. So if you can't log in, don't raise the alarm. In order to cut down on groundhog syndrome as well, you want to try and separate it out by group, right? Pick 5 people from sales that don't sit by each other. Pick a few people from support, a few people from engineering, and then stage your attack. So that's group A, then another one's group B, maybe the next day, maybe a few hours later. Great time to cut down on this if you're going to send it to your whole employee base, 6 p.m. on a Friday. People will check it over the weekend. They're not going to talk to each other about it. You get a lot of success that way. So the output of our social engineering toolkit will look like this. You can see that this CSRF token is static. That's because we just pulled it straight from the web page. There's nothing generating it per session. But you'll have a username, and then you'll have a password. This will feed out exactly what they typed in. So our stats for our first email attack, after we sent all these out, 48% of the people that were emailed clicked and gave us legitimate credentials. That's almost half of the people that we sent it to gave us credentials. 62% of those people reused that password in other places. So we tried to log into the HireView application, worked. Let's try their email, worked. Let's try something else. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. So shout out your answers. How many times do you think one person submitted different credentials? 11? Okay. Anybody else? Got one answer? None? 50? Okay. 312 times. This guy wanted this $50 gift card. This was not automated. We would see, looking through the Apache logs, we would see a login that came in at 501, 502, 507, 508:30, iPhone, Firefox, Chrome, Safari. This guy was trying everything, trying to get that gift card. And here he is. Good morning. I saw the note at the bottom of the invitation about trying later if I'm redirected during the login process. I've tried to log in several times since I got the invitation to check it out, and I've not been successful at all. Perhaps I'm doing something wrong. Do you know if anyone else has been able to log in? Any helpful tips are appreciated. I'm excited to take a look and give feedback. First mistake, just replying to the email. Second mistake, using the email address that I put in the email to reply to. The helpful tips that I gave back were, well, we're trying to fix the back-end authentication system, so maybe try your Salesforce login. This is one of the guys who didn't reuse passwords. Try and use your Salesforce login. If that doesn't work, try email. Immediately, more and more credentials that were valid credentials. But I really like this guy. I personally like the new UI. It looks way different now than it used to. Great work. Now I can come pick up my gift card to save you a trip to my desk. The cojones on this guy, right? There's no new UI. There's nothing. It switches you right over. Got to give him props for trying, though. So what about voice stats? This is our picking up the phone, calling people. Sometimes we spoofed our caller ID. Sometimes we didn't. 92% success rate over the phone. This means that out of every 12 people we called, 11 people gave us valid credentials. Obviously, we had some stuff to work on, right? This is not good. So how do we fix this problem? My biggest advice is to just do this. Our results doing social engineering, doing phishing, and having overall security awareness have gone up using this more than anything else that we've tried. And we've tried quite a few things. When people get owned, it becomes personal. It becomes something they remember. They know what it feels like to get compromised, but you're doing it in an environment where you can go and you can train them. Nothing malicious is going to happen. But still, that violation, right, of getting your account hacked, it stings. People remember that. They're not going to like it at first. You're not going to be a beloved member of the company at first. But really, you know, it's for their own good. It's that little poke that comes before the vaccination. Reward people. The people who raise the alarm. Make it fun for those people. Reward the people that shut you down over the phone. The people who got our gift cards were the people who, we had one engineer who was sitting at his computer, somebody came and told him about it, forwarded him the email, he sat, did some research, popped his head up and said, we're under attack. And the whole engineering team just started trying to figure out what was going on. That's the guy that gets the $50 gift card. And you want to publicly acknowledge and recognize them. So this is an email that we got, legitimate email, spear phishing email, to our controller, spoofed from our CFO, saying, I need you to send this money right away, code it to GNA, notify me when it's completed. There's some red flags, but you know, all in all, it's a decent phishing email. We forwarded this to Utah Saint, so those of you who are in the group may recognize it. You know, he even used the Calibri font. It's a pretty good email, but he stopped it. So the Krebs story shows not everybody stops him. A lot of people fall for this exact email. So we brought him up in front of the company, and I made this shirt for him. I saved HireView $96,370 by targeting or stopping a targeted cyber attack. Put his name on the back, 96K. We called him up at a company meeting and presented this to him in front of everybody. This is a good way to bring other people into your company's information security goals. Make them a part of the team, reward them when they do good work, when they stop these threats. And it also serves to educate other people about what's out there, what's coming in. Complement these rewards with training. Any training is good. Personalized training is better, though. It's infinitely more effective when you use training for your company and for your employees. If you handle a specific type of data, train them around that data. If you are HIPAA compliant, train them around the HIPAA compliance. Don't just go buy some training and check the box and say, okay, we're done. It checks the box, that's about it. It doesn't provide much real value. So open your doors to your fellow coworkers. Which would be better, to have a guy come to you several times a week saying, hey, is this legit? 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 And just every time, yes, looks good. No, this one isn't. I would argue that that's better. Try and train them every time and say, okay, well, here are the red flags on this one that make it so it's not. Start having them, when they forward you the email, say, these are the red flags I've spotted. What do you think? It's infinitely better to be slightly annoyed with people checking in than it is for somebody to just be like, oh, well, that guy's a jerk. I'm not going to go talk to him. I'm just going to click this. I'm sure it's fine. And then company's infected. They really need to be prepared. This is another good one that we've got. There's a red flag up here. This is really good. I got the subpoena in my mailbox today saying that I've been sued by you. I'm sorry, but I don't even know what this is. I'm attaching a scanned copy. Let me know what this is about. It's pretty good phishing email. Again, this one right here, our CFO, he's jumped on board now too. He loves messing with these guys. We'll set up a site that is, we'll have a link to a .doc that is nothing. We just want to see where they're coming from. He'll reply and say, okay, here's your full support for your, use their words. Here's your full support for this wire transfer. So again, get other people on the InfoSec team. Some of these emails are really bad. You can almost hear the accent in this one. I want you to process a wire transfer to a beneficiary who will be needing the funds today. Do let me know if you are in so I can provide you with the banking information. Stuff like this, it's easy to figure out that it's not good. This one's tricky. This is an email that we sent out because we want to try and inoculate our people against the same tricks that the bad guys are going to use. You got to keep HR in the loop when you send emails like this. There may be fallout, but if the bad guys are going to do it, we need to try and do it too. For those who can't read, from the back it says your spouse was found on the Ashley Madison site. So we sent this out shortly after news broke of the data breach. Some of them are just obviously fake. DocuSign up here, DocSign with caps, DocSign lowercase, obviously fake. I like to think this is one of the more plausible ones. This was highly successful, but again, it was our first attempt. Stay relevant and current. People are going to hate you for this. I can speak from experience. People are going to hate you for this. Click here to get free tickets to Star Wars. Yeah, people don't like that one at all. But always be asking yourself, as you see current events, as you see things coming up on the news, how can I exploit that? How can I think like one of the bad guys? How can I use that to trick my people? So let's make one more phone call. This guy is one of the guys that gets the $50 gift card.
This is, hey, it's Matt over in IT. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, the reason I'm calling, we've had an issue with backups affecting some of our salespeople. We actually had somebody yesterday on the call where their backups overwrote their mailbox. So we're trying to reach out urgently and get this fixed for everybody. Are you next to your computer right now?
I am, but I'll just run over and come chat with you real fast.
Oh, I actually had to leave for the day. I'm finishing up from home.
Okay. I got to run over to this meeting really fast. Is it okay if we do it a little bit later?
I mean,
That way I can just come over to your desk and we can do it in person real fast.
yeah, listen, so as long as you're okay with potentially, I mean, what could happen is your email inbox could be overwritten. So if you're okay to accept that risk, then we can totally wait. But, it's been kind of a big deal for the people who've been affected. So it's up to you then.
Yeah, because if Alan's over there, I can run over and talk to Alan really fast too.
Yeah, I think he's gone as well. But, like I said, it's up to you. You can, I mean, if you know your password, I can take care of it on the admin interface on my side. It's just.
Oh, that's okay. You know what? If you're here in the morning, I'll just run over and we can do it in the morning.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, this was a losing battle. The first question I asked him, I knew I was getting nowhere with this guy. He immediately shut me down. Anything I could come up with to, try and assuage his fears, no, I'll just come over. Oh, well, if he's there, I'll come talk to him. I'll just do it tomorrow. There's no way this guy was going to give me any information. So that's the guy that you want to recognize company-wide. That's the guy that you want to give the $50 gift card to. And then give lots of examples to your people. Use a lot of variety of phishing emails. Don't do it just once and then never again. Don't do your social engineering calls once and never again. Both of these calls, we played them for the whole company. Of course, changing the names and the voices to protect the innocent. When people hear the pretext you use, it does a couple things. It forces you to be creative. It forces you to come up with something original, something different the next time. It also shows multiple examples of what people can expect when they're answering that phone. And that's all I have. So any questions or anything? Yeah, go ahead. We, at the time of this attack, we had about 180. So still smallish, but yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. So the question was, what was the period that we did this in? We've done several attacks. This one was over a few days. We've done some that have been over the weekend. We've done some that have been a few calls a day for a week. So we tailor it, for each different engagement, we try and tailor it with the information we're working with the content we're trying to get out as well. So, yep, go ahead. So for this one, we just signed up for a Google trial. We did it completely separate from the company. So we used nothing to tie us together with our company. So yeah, it was completely separate accounts, separate AWS accounts. Yeah. Yep. Sure, that's a great question. So the question was, what was the result of the second time and subsequent times? The drop was very sharp after the first one. A lot of the employees that have talked to me about this have said, I've learned more through this than anything else. And it shows in our results. We're talking from, say, a 46%, 48% click rate down to 6%, down to 7%. Phone, it's almost impossible to get anybody to disclose any information over the phone now. Whether we're asking for something, just seemingly innocuous, we just don't get that information. So, and it stayed pretty consistent between 4 to 6%. And it makes it very easy to pick out the people who maybe aren't getting it, maybe they need additional training, and then you can bring the email over to their desk and say, okay, here are the red flags, here's what we put in there to try and trick you, here's what you can spot next time. So, For new hires, yes. Yeah, great question. We tell them, so everybody gets an onboarding training where we talk about the data that we're processing, what our position is, how we classify our data, what their responsibility is, and then we tell every person within the first 6 months you will be targeted. And after that, it's fair game. But yeah, we tell everybody to look forward to this because we want them to be aware. It plants that seed where they pick up the phone and it's like, okay, well, is this higher view? Is this a legitimate attack? So yeah, great question. Any other questions? Cool. Oh, one more. That's a great question. So we launched this shortly after the Sony hack, where they lost everything, right? Well, obviously not. Their share price maybe tanked a few cents. It was right after that when they hadn't really discussed what caused it. The CTO called me in his office and said, "What do you think is our biggest weakness?" And I said, "People. People is the biggest weakness." And so I said, "I have an idea to fix it. Here's my idea." I think it's pretty easy, especially if you can tell them, this is going to take 3-4 hours of my day. This is going to cost less than $50, less than $100. And it's going to help protect you. It's going to help protect our data. I think that's the best way to sell it to your upper management. But yeah, without their support, I mean, they're going to be, everybody is hesitant with something like this at first, right? They think about, well, what if our employees are upset at us? What if everybody starts going to HR? You have to think of the flip side. What happens if a legitimate person uses this? Then that's the least of your worries at that point. So, yeah, great question. Anything else? All right.